They were insured for, I think, $4 million, had a fire. They purchased the building for $500. The adjuster came, I think he offered him like $780, seven something was the initial offer. All in all, that claim I think settled for like $3.2 million. Ended up being great for the church.
Welcome to the Freedom Point Real Estate Podcast, where we talk about creating more time freedom through passive real estate investing. Passive investing in real estate challenges conventional investment wisdom. We are passionate about learning and sharing resources with others who are ready to transform their investing mindset. Quick disclaimer as always, I am not a CPA, I am not an attorney or a financial advisor. This is not financial advice, not telling you or anyone else what to do. The views and opinions expressed in these podcasts are provided for education and informational purposes only and are not necessarily the views of my employer. I'm glad you're here. Now let's dig in. All right, welcome back, Freedom Point Podcast listeners. Thank you again for jumping into another episode of the Freedom Point. We're so glad you're here with us again today. I do have an amazing guest with me, Andy Gurczak. Andy, welcome to the show.
Jeremy, thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you with us as well. A little bit about Andy. Andy is the founder of AllCity Adjusting, a licensed public adjusting firm. Andy immigrated from America, or I should say to America, from Poland with his family at the age of 9. After working in the construction industry and more specifically in fire restoration, Andy discovered his true calling, public adjusting. Andy, that's what we're here to talk about today. Really appreciate you connecting with us. It's a topic that we've not yet brought to our listening audience, and that is one key component to any type of real estate, whether you're a passive investor, an active investor, is you've got to have the proper insurance, right? And you hope you don't need to use it, but when you do, right, we need to deploy individuals like yourself on the public adjusting side. So maybe you can give our listening audience a little bit more about kind of your, backstory, your journey, what you're focused on today, et cetera.
Yeah, so you kind of said it all very well. I think you did a great introduction for me. But public adjusting, we're an advocate for the insured. We represent the insured against their own insurance companies, maximizing their settlements, making sure they get through the whole claims process. We're going to make sure there's no delays in the claims process, that they don't get denied. Handling every coverage they have from A to Z. And public adjusters are kind of on the down low. No one knows about us until something happens, and then something's happening with the insurance company, whether they're delaying the claim, they're not answering their phone, they're just handling the claim. That's when people start kind of searching for options for attorneys or any other. That's when they kind of stumble upon public adjusters. So we've been trying to get ahead and educate people on YouTube, on Google, on podcasts like yourself, like your own. And just educate people to get ahead of it, meaning, have a public adjuster on your team, just like you build your team with attorneys and accountants and everyone else, real estate agents, have a public adjuster kind of in your network. So then when something does happen, you have that person ready to go and deploy and make sure that your claim gets paid. And, not only does it get paid fairly, you maximize everything, and ultimately so it doesn't get denied. A lot of claims getting denied now for a number of reasons. So.
Talk to me like I'm an elementary school child. What's the purpose of having a public adjuster? Is it something that's required? Is it an add-on service maybe that you're providing, to the insured? Are you typically working with individuals, maybe institutional grade, owners of real estate, syndication teams, sponsors? Like really kind of break down for me, where it is specifically that you fit, into that organization and how you drive results for your clients.
100%. So public adjuster is a designation by the state that we're licensed in, and the states put that in force to protect the consumer, protect the insured. So we're licensed. Our team's licensed in 40 states. It's easy to compare. Basically, just like an accountant, you can do your own taxes, but ultimately, most people go to an accountant and have a professional, especially a business. Anyone in real estate, anyone in that kind of field, is going to go and hire an accountant to make sure that they're paying as little as possible, that they're protected. It's same thing as hiring us, right? For a small fee, we make sure that that claim not, doesn't get delayed, ultimately doesn't get denied, and then maximize it, right? Get every penny, money that they would have never got, thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars that the client would never see. And majority of our clients, our company's been built as investors, landlords, management companies. That's been 90% of our business.
Okay. Can you maybe break it down for me and maybe give me an example of a typical, client that you serve, and what types of claims, do you genuinely see occurring more often than others?
Yes. So majority of the claims we handle are going to be fire and large water loss in commercial properties. When it comes to fire, water, anything large loss, it gets very complex. You have usually we're usually doing 5 units, 10 units. You're getting into commercial construction. The software that insurance companies use to estimate commercial damage is built on residential for residential systems. So you have to really know construction and really have to have knowledge in buildings and all of those aspects. And then, when it comes to a loss, there's not just the building or the building itself that suffered damage. You also have loss of income, right? Business interruption. You have to move tenants. There's moving tenants to other places. That's covered. There's just so many different coverages. People don't even know. If you look like, for example, I don't want to name an insured insurance company, but you'll look. Here's your declaration page. Here's your main coverages, and then there's 3 pages of additional coverages that no one even knows what they're for, but they're there, right? And that's where we come in.
Yeah, that's great. So you're really acting as that advocate of the insured, when it comes to, getting what maybe the insured is entitled to, throughout that claims process. I personally was involved in an investment once where there was a fire at an apartment community, and it was a total loss on an 8-unit building that was a part of a community. And while on the surface that might sound bad, but because we had an insurance adjuster, available, or advocate, I should say, on our team, okay, at the end of the day, the insurance covered the full replacement cost, of the property, in addition to the lost revenue that we incurred as a direct result of having to displace those tenants.
So that's a very good point. So that's a great example, right? We've had calls where we've actually had calls from clients that said, "Hey, we had a total loss. The insurance company is going to say they're going to total they always say, well, they're going to total everything." Great. What does that mean, right? Because you can then go say, well, you have $1 million in coverage, but they're going to depreciate it. They're only giving you 500,000, and your goal is not to rebuild. So you're not going to recover that 500. Well, how do you recover it, right? Maybe they stopped writing an estimate because they knew they're going to apply depreciation. They got the limits. They're not, we have to go in and then we break it down, because then if we can write that estimate to 2 million and depreciate it, we can get that $1 million upfront for the client. And then there's debris removal. There's so many other endorsements we've won in when, and we've heard the same thing. We're going to get total loss. We're going to get everything. And then we come in, and by the time we find endorsement, there's $200,000-$300,000 more that they would have never known about.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And I know that you pride yourself in maximizing settlements, for the insured. What key strategies or practices differentiate your firm from maybe others in the industry?
Yeah, so I can say easily and with confidence that there's only a few firms, PA firms, that handle fires, especially large loss. Most PA firms will handle storm damage, hail, wind, residential. We've built, 15 years built on large loss, commercial, bringing in people. Our main estimator was a 20-year experienced large loss adjuster for one of the biggest insurance companies that came on board to work with us. So we've really built a team. Same with forensic accountants, engineers, to build it around servicing large loss, fire, water. That's our specialty. We don't do anything else. When we do have calls for all those, we have to pass those leads on, unfortunately, because we do specialize in something that we're really good in. That's what we're built for. That's why we can travel to, any state in the United States and handle a loss.
What would be maybe 1 or 2 different stories that you would say are probably your most memorable stories you've had, where you've really been able to provide significant value to the insured?
Yeah, there's so many. Last year we had a fun one. There was Brother Elijah. There's actually a video of him. This one's special just because they have a church. They have 8 churches across America. They really help the community. They buy old churches that were closed down, remodel them, reopen school, reopen churches. Like it's just a great thing they're doing. And this one was actually pretty close to our main headquartered office. They had a fire. They were insured for, I think, 4 million. Had a fire. They purchased the building for 500. The adjuster came. I think he offered him like 780, seven something was the initial offer. He ended up meeting the brother Elijah, met his contractor, who then advised, "Hey, I can help you. I don't think you have enough. There's a little bit more damage." So then that triggered Brother Elijah to start Googling. He found us online. He called us. We met with him. He ended up signing, actually signing an agreement with us like an hour before the second adjuster that they sent out, the insurance company sent out. All in all, that claim I think settled for like 3.2 million. I think his initial was 700. He was ended up being at 3.2 million. They bought that property for like 700, 800, or 500,000. So just great all around. Ended up being great for the church, and yeah. So that one's very memorable just because of the situation, kind of the client and what they do for the community.
Yeah, that makes sense. And thank you for sharing that story. And I assume that a part of your success, as a public adjuster, also kind of originates with the type of coverages, that the insured is acquiring on the front end. So, what types of maybe advice do you typically give, your clients as it relates to, the type of coverages and the limits, of those coverages that they should be purchasing on the front end?
Yeah, so something we do for new clients, and previous clients they always do this. When they purchase new properties, they'll send us policies to review them, make sure that the coverages and that they have the right endorsements, that everything's covered the right way, that there's any hidden exclusions. Now, which those exclusions, when we have a fire, just like the one I just described to you, the scenario, he could have called us. We could have looked at the policy and said, "Hey, your limit's only 800, so there's really nothing we can help you with." Right? He was insured the right way. So unfortunately that was good. But a lot of people are underinsured, and they need our help even more because they really need those special endorsements, anything in that policy to help really drive in where they lost in their their main coverage, to bring that up and recover as much as they can.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I know, public adjusting is really not something that is a very widely understood profession, right? What misconceptions do you typically hear out there from people about public adjusters, and how do you educate your clients about your role in the process?
Yeah, that's a really great question. Storm chasers is one we hear a lot. Storm chasers, solicitors, ambulance chasers, a lot of those. I guess every profession has its own, it's some bad image. That's kind of the one that lays on us. We've built our company through online, through repeat clients, through building relationships. We know what value we bring. We've seen it. We have the proven track record. For us, I can't speak for other BAs. Is there people that knock on doors, sign people up, do shady stuff? 100%. I think every profession you're going to find that. We hold ourselves to the highest standard. And again, we have a proven record. We have clients to prove it, references. And then, we try to stand out, and not only, where we're located, online, our presence, in person, kind of all around.
That makes sense. And Andy, I'd like to talk about the human element to the process that you go through with people. I know that, both on the individual as well as on the commercial side, the claims process can be quite overwhelming for people, especially during crises like, fires or natural disasters. How do you and your firm balance being a professional and then providing that emotional support to clients during those rough times?
Yeah, this is a little bit different business that we have, in terms of, it's not like, say, when I'm speaking, let's say you were to call our company and you guys had a fire and you're trying to get some information. It's you're trying to sell yourself, but you're also trying to educate, right? And people are going through a lot of stuff. Maybe there's people that passed away, something, pets, animals, people. I mean, so you're trying to really be there for emotionally for them, educate them, and just kind of put them in the best place and give them that option that, hey, we're here for you. Well, ultimately, it's your choice what you're going to do. But it's a different kind of animal than most sales or most other, I guess, similar industries, and that um, that we really can't relate to. It's hard to go from another industry that you were in sales or any other kind of marketing or anything and go into here, because marketing in our business and sales it's totally different. How do you market people that might never have a fire? Right. You're trying to get people once something happens, trying to get on their radar. It's a different different industry. So it's fun though.
I'm Zach Happenstall, CEO and co-founder of Rise 48 Equity. Our goal is to help you protect and grow your wealth by investing in large multifamily apartment buildings. We do all the work as far as sourcing these large apartment buildings from the brokers, doing all of the on-site management with our vertically integrated property management company, doing all the renovations with our vertically integrated construction company. We completely rebrand the exteriors. We will renovate the interiors to our full platinum level scope, which increases the value of the asset to get that profit margin for the investor. If you'd like to learn about how you can partner with us on these exciting opportunities, and go to our website and set up a call with our team.
I know that one thing that's plagued a lot of operators in the commercial real estate space, as of late, have been the historic rise in the costs of insurance in certain markets in this country. Okay. I know that you're not an insurance broker, but I'd love to hear maybe your opinion on kind of what has happened relative to insurance costs just in the last few years, and what your expectation would be, going forward.
Yeah. So talking to a couple of agents friends, I know the rates are coming down. They're actually going down a little bit. Why they went up, I know they'll blame it on hurricanes, blame it on wildfires, they'll blame it on whatever. Rates going up, just like when you had inflation or COVID, they were doubling prices of anything, right? Material for wood, over 1 month, a 2x4, anything doubled or tripled, and all of a sudden, then it came down to almost regular price. And how do they justify? There was nothing. They were just able to price go up as much as they can, and it's the same thing they're doing with insurance rates right now. But again, most brokers should be able to look over coverages, and I don't think a lot of them do that. Look over coverages, explain policies. I mean, if you call your broker and you ask for a policy, most don't even have it. They'll say, well, I have to request it. Well, how did you sell me a policy if you've never looked at it? They just think about that. That policy is that's the contract you have with the insurance company, but your agent hasn't seen it. But he knows some of the coverages, right? That's kind of what's scary. So I remember when we purchased our building with my wife, and we got coverage, and I think they put the replacement cost at $4 million. Even at my highest numbers, if this place burned down all the way to the ground and I had to do foundation, my max would be $3 million, and that would be, I mean, that payout wise, I think rebuilding I would be at 1.5. But they were trying to replace that. So they were trying to raise the floor. So I had to go back and forth. I even had to sign something that I am lowering my own coverage, and I know I totally understand. I know the rebuild costs. I know all of that taken into account. So a lot of people, I think, policy premiums have been up too, because a lot of the property values have gone up, pricing and everything. So the replacement cost is very high on these properties, raising that premium. But I do know, talking to people, it is slowly coming down. I don't know what rates. I know it's hard for people to get insurance now in a lot of areas. So you hope that opens the market for new insurance companies.
Yeah, absolutely. I think more competition would be good for everybody, particularly the insured. So I would like to get a little bit personal with you and talk about this concept of the power of mentorship. I know you've had a couple of significant mentors in your own life. What are the most, kind of maybe what's the most valuable lessons mentors have taught you specifically, and how have they influenced your career up to now?
Yeah, I guess the main my first mentor that kind of had the biggest thing was my in car sales. He was hired as a corporate trainer, um, and that was my first like witness of someone that has money. Like, we grew up middle class, very great. Everything was great. No, nothing bad. But he was the first introduction to kind of money. Goals, success, and I really took a liking to him. He taught me about goal setting. Even after I left the dealership, I still met him. taught me about money and just everything about success. I learned from him. And then that just was like the first step to everything else. But that opened my eyes to everything else. So he was, and that all happened by accident, me getting that job, him being my trainer and all that.
Yeah, it makes total sense. It's good to have mentors in your life that can call you up or call you out in certain respects. So I also know that,
and mentors and James, sorry to interrupt, but mentors don't fall into place. Like they're not just gonna show up at your doorstep and say, "Hey, I'm gonna mentor you." Like you have to go out and find them. Even the second mentor, Herb, who taught me the PA business, I think I chased him for 2 years to teach me. I mean, resiliently calling him. I met with him so many times, bought him dinner, just kept calling. Again, they're not gonna show up at your doorstep. And I worked for free, paid him like. It's you have to give effort. A mentor's there if you give the effort and you find one.
Yeah, I appreciate you highlighting that. And you're exactly right. Sometimes people need to be told that they're going to mentor you, but there almost has to be this trade-off there as well. So your willingness to provide some value in exchange for that mentorship. There's also other ways I believe that people can be mentored outside of that kind of one-on-one conversation with a mentor. And that is through earbuds in your ears, listening to podcasts, reading books. There's other ways that people can mentor you, even though it's not them actually providing, that mentorship on a one-on-one basis. So I know, Andy, that your family motto emphasizes doing things right or not doing them at all. How do you instill this philosophy in your team at AllCity Adjusting and in your day-to-day operations?
I lead by example. So I think everyone here knows kind of how I work and how I operate. If I don't really, I'm not a micromanager. No one micromanages anyone here. No one stands behind anyone's back. We give a task and we expect you to do it and do it right. That's simple, and if you can't figure it out, then we have to separate. We have to go different ways. That's kind of the team we've built, right? Of people that can figure it on their own, that they don't need anyone's hold hands. If they have a problem, they'll Google it. They'll ChatGPT, YouTube it. I mean, there shouldn't be an excuse these days for not being able to do something. So I've led by that. And we have our 10 little commandments over there. So that's one of them.
That's great. What would be maybe one or two different ways that our listening audience can connect with you to learn more about what you're up to?
Yeah. For your listeners, I'll leave them with my cell phone number. If any of your listeners ever want to contact me directly, learn about public adjusting or have questions about their policies or claims, my cell phone number for your listeners is 708-655-4186. They could also check us out at allcityadjusting.com. Or Google AllCity Adjusting. They'll find me, YouTube videos, information. I'm all over Facebook, everywhere. So I'm really easy to get a hold of.
That's great. Well, we'll definitely put those links and your phone number in the notes for the episode today. Andy, really appreciate the value that you brought our listening audience.
Jamie, hey, thank you so much for having me. Always great to be and educate some new people. So
likewise. And listening audience, thank you again for jumping into another episode of The Freedom Point. We look forward to having you join us on the next episode.
Thank you for hanging out with us today and for listening to the Freedom Point podcast, powered by Starting Point Capital. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Nothing said on this show should be considered financial advice. Before making any financial decision, please consult with a professional. This show is copyrighted by the Freedom Point podcast. Written permissions must be granted before syndication or rebroadcasting. If you're interested in connecting, you can find contact information at startingpointcapital.com.